Hey everyone, it's Zoe here from Living with a Sleeve. I'm excited to be back on. I'm sorry I missed last week with the Facebook Lives, but I just wanted to sort of get on today and talk to you about a post that I published last week, which seemed to have really struck a chord with a lot of people. I've had lots of comments on it, and lots of them have been positive, which I really appreciate, because it's something I think we don't talk about enough, and it's something I talk with my clients about all the time, but something that I think out there in the world of forums and information about weight loss surgery, I don't think that we sort of really discuss it enough. The topic that I wrote about was why you don't need to count calories after your sleeve. And the main reason that I think you don't need to count calories is that I believe you haven't had a sleeve to go on another diet, okay? I believe that by the time you get in here and you're starting to talk about weight loss surgery, you have tried everything and nothing has worked in the long term for you. Nothing's been sustainable. So what I really firmly believe is that we want to get to a point after the sleeve where food is food. It's not related to emotion, it's not related to to what it says in your app. Your calorie count and the grams of protein shouldn't really determine what you pick off the shelf. And I really think, hey Lisa, nice to see you, thanks for joining. I really think that calorie counting is just another form of dieting behaviour. We weren't designed to track everything that we eat in a calorie counting app, and it takes a lot of emotional and physical effort to count calories. I really think that if you can get away from that diet mentality and start to just think about food as food and go for quality rather than worrying about what your calorie count is for the day, the sleeve and your appetite and your stomach and your hunger and your fullness signals will actually take care of the rest for you. I think one of the things that I really talk about with people in the clinic a lot is how mindfulness around food and getting used to those new cues that your stomach will tell you about when to eat and when to stop eating, that is such an important part of the change that you need to make after having a sleeve. It's something that I think every single person, regardless of whether or not they have weight loss surgery, needs to consider and needs to think about and needs to learn. So instead of counting calories, there are a few things that I really think that you should focus on after your sleeve. Really try and shift away from that diet mentality. This is a long-term solution. It's not a short-term magic silver bullet, and you need to change your mindset so you start thinking about it as a long-term sustainable, this is me, this is life kind of mindset, and thinking around your food choices and your health and your lifestyle choices, so your exercise. And it's really about doing the things that you like, eating what you feel like when you feel hungry, and not eating when you're not hungry, stopping when you feel like you've had enough. So really think about whether or not before you eat, are you eating for head hunger or are you eating for stomach hunger? If it's head hunger, then we need to ask those questions about, well, why do I want to eat if I'm not hungry? What else can I do instead? And what are those things that often trigger me to eat when I'm not hungry? Those sorts of questions really start to get that shift away from the dieting mentality and get you back in touch with your food and with your stomach and what your body really wants. It's the same thing for exercise. So similar types of questions, you know, am I doing this because I enjoy it, or am I doing it to burn a certain number of calories during the day? Am I doing it because it makes my body feel good, or it gives me a mood lift, or am I doing it even though I hate it? So picking exercise that's really supportive and enjoyable for you is going to mean that you are able to keep up with that exercise in the long term. It might not mean that you go to the gym and you lift weights. It might mean that you go for a walk around the water on the weekends, but you move a bit more during the day, sort of as part of your day. Being kind to yourself, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, okay? When you eat, before you eat, think about what you're doing, concentrate on what you're doing, aim for quality and think about your portion sizes. Try not to eat too much so that you feel uncomfortable. Really slow down and concentrate on what you're doing when you're eating. And really focusing on those good quality foods will mean that you feel more satisfied for a longer period of time, and you'll be better able to manage your appetite levels as well. So thinking again about your lean meat and proteins, veggies, fruit, dairy, whole grains, and going for those good quality foods rather than the processed foods with the labels just because you know how many calories are in there. Look, I hope this makes sense. I really do think that it's something that we don't talk about enough, and mindfulness around your food really, and your exercise, I guess, really is important to long-term success. So I've written a post this week actually, which is about books that are essential for life after a sleeve gastrectomy. And you'll know what I guess, my sort of opinions about things just by looking at that list of books. 2 of those books are about mindfulness around your food. One of them is called Mindful Eating by Jan Chosen-Bays, which is a great book. It just helps you to think about mindfulness and how to start practicing that with your food. And the second one is called If Not Dieting, Then What? And that's by a doctor from Melbourne, Dr. Rick Korsman. And Rick is amazing at sort of really explaining why dieting doesn't work in the long term and what you can do to sustainably sort of manage your weight and your health and your emotions and eat to your appetite in the long term. So if you are struggling with this sort of concept of getting off a diet and getting onto something that is sustainable in the long term, or struggling with knowing how to be a bit more mindful with your food, I really recommend both of those books. You can get both of them in ebook form on Amazon, and if you go to livingwithasleeve.com, it's the latest blog post, which is on the advice page. So look, I hope, please ask any questions if you've got any. Feel free to comment underneath the video here and I'll get back to you. I've had lots of positive feedback, lots of people saying that they really agree with me, that they've found that the sleeve has actually allowed them to let go of that dieting mentality and get back to sort of concentrating on eating when they're hungry and stopping when they feel like they've had enough, and really eating good quality foods and foods that they feel like at the time. So I think that's about it from me. I've had my little rant about why calorie counting isn't good and why I don't recommend it. And really it is one of those things that people ask me all the time, like how many calories should I be eating all the time? And the answer that I give them is really, I don't want you to focus on it at all. So please, again, like I said, you can always ask questions by commenting underneath the post, or you can go to livingwithasleeve.com and there's a Q&A forum there, and you can post a question there and I'll get back to you. The other way you can get in touch with me is, if you don't want it to be public, you can direct message me on Facebook. Or you can email me through livingwithasleeve.com. You can join the newsletter there as well, which I only send once a month, and it's just in the footer and down the side of every blog post. You can pop your email address in there, and I only email once a month, and it's just basically a wrap up of what's been happening on the page in the past month to keep you up to date, because I don't want to spam your inboxes with too many emails. Anyway, I hope you have a fabulous day. Lisa, thanks for joining, and I will hopefully speak to you all soon. Cheers guys, bye.